According to some recent reveals, we seem to be getting some floor 10 content in Sword Art Online Progressive Aria of a Starless Night movie. And before you go, but isn't this supposed to be the floor 1 story? Well, there was another floor 10 in there before the game began, wasn't there? Welcome everyone, it's me Gamerturk, your best source of Sword Art Online information on YouTube. And well, this is a very small reveal. I don't want to say tease because it was, revealed. It is quite the huge news that I felt the need to actually make a video out of it. The thing is, recently on Fuji TV we had a Yuki Kajiura based program where they talked about her previous work including Heaven's Feel, but the main focus was the Sword Art Online movie, the upcoming Progressive Aria of Starless Night movie. And well, most of the scenes that were shown on camera were blurred out of your vision. Some of them they kept. We had some nice storyboard keys for Asuna versus the Bees battle, which we have seen in the trailers as well. We know that's going to be an entire scene, but something new has come up during that program, and that is this specific scene.
残り30秒です。
でこうセリフがこういうのが最初に来るんです。
劇場版の作曲作業ではセリフが
Now, I have already extensively tweeted about it, and that's why you should definitely follow me on Twitter as well for the latest stuff and all. But what we see here is a serpent samurai type mob, not a boss, just a regular mob that Kirito is rushing in, potentially saving or stealing that kill from another player, killing it and instantly moving on. Now, let's start with that. Floor 10. Where do you remember that? Well, floor 10 is the final floor that the beta testers had reached back during the Sword Art Online beta, and again, Kirito was of course on that frontline player crowd. And why floor 10? Because we know floor 10 is based on this serpent samurai style theme in general. We have already seen Kagachi the Samurai Lord, the floor 10 boss back in Ordinal Scale as our first major boss battle. Of course, we won't see Kagachi over here because they never made it to Kagachi or even beat him to move on to floor 11. But again, all the mobs, most of the mobs on the floor are following that same theme. This serpent mob that is a samurai at the same time. And that description, it matches this mob very specifically. So chances are the scene that we're seeing right here, it is the floor 10 labyrinth. So before the boss fight, but inside the huge pillar that is supposed to take you up to the next floor. Now the thing we see here, a player seemingly kneeling down as if he's stuck or something, maybe stunned, staggered, etc. And then Kirito just rushes past them, slides under the sword of the enemy, cuts it, and immediately moves on. Again, cutting it in a single shot and then moving on. That's a huge sign of the fact that this is potentially just a regular mob on the floor. And the other player right here, people seem to be assuming that he may be Po, which he isn't, because this is obviously the Sword Art Online beta. Po wasn't even there during the beta. He's supposed to dive in towards the final days of the floor 1 struggle. And chances are we won't even see him in the first movie. I do hope we won't see him in the movie. He comes into the scene later down the line. But again, there is quite a nice emphasis, focus on this other player, which is going to be relevant. That's why I'm highlighting it right now. Keep that in your mind. But let's get into the scene specifically. What can this tie into in Aria of a Starless Night that we're seeing a scene from beta floor 10? It can be a lot of things. First off, there are... Floor 10 is constantly brought up, as that final floor the beta testers have reached, as well as some other inner monologues from Kirito stating, some future mobs start using sword skills, which again, early floor mobs do not use sword skills at all, with the exception of some floor bosses. We know Ilfang the Kobold Lord does use sword skills, but he is the exception of the floor in that sense. And floor 10 enemies, yes, they actually do use sword skills, and this is mentioned in Aria of a Starless Night story as well within the books. There, I should have brought it up and shoved it into the camera just to give it emphasis. But the fact of the matter is, there is 1 or 2 paragraphs in there talking about how future mobs do have sword skills and how Kirito spent a whole lot of time trying to memorize all the starting motions of those specific skills to be able to know what's coming and counter effectively. Now, this may be that, but I am inclined to believe otherwise, because as you can see in the keyframes we have over here, there isn't much focus on countering, but there's a lot of focus on this other player, as well as Kirito just rushing in to get the kill and moving on as if nothing happened. Like, if this was specifically tying into that paragraph about countering sword skills, we would have seen some actual countering. And that brings me over to my other theories. This is gonna be very mild spoilers. There will be zero context. I'll just mention things in large general headers without giving you an idea what's actually happening. But if you're too spoiler allergic, I do recommend you move on to the next timestamp right now. There's just small warning, it shouldn't be something you should be afraid of. It's not gonna be much, but I keep talking so you have the time to skip over. But I believe this much time is enough. One theory I have is that this may be a flashback portion when, you know, we have seen in the trailers where Asuna is asking, but why did she leave me? Talking about Mito, of course, because we know Mito leaves her early on. And this may be just Kirito explaining the dangers that are ahead and saying things like, well, maybe she was concerned about your safety, that's why she left you, to keep you safe in the safety of the towns, etc., not become a frontline player, and all that kind of jazz. And just talking about the floor 10 beta, that's the most danger Kirito knows of the entire game so far, so it makes sense, you know, he would mention those highest floors that he has achieved to showcase the danger that's ahead to Asuna, to, you know, alleviate her mind of why Mito may have left her. Or again, similarly in the same context, he may be explaining the context of beta testers in general, no relation to Mito at all. You know, the beta testers, I included, have made it that far and we have faced this and that, it may be that. Or more importantly, if you remember, I told you to keep in your mind, we have seen that player being really in the focus. He was just standing there, and then when Kirito zooms past him, we see a close-up of that person as well, as if he's jealous or angry towards Kirito. That's where the next theory comes in, because while the original adaptation of Aria of a Starless Night back in Season 1 Episode 2 completely butchered the entire story, and if you're an anime only, you have absolutely zero clue, but that player may be the beta avatar of Diavel, the person who called the first boss meeting as well as brought people together, and is seen by a majority of the players, well, pretty much everyone actually on the front lines, to be that idol they should be striving to be after his death. But the thing is, nobody knows the real nature of that person on the front lines or among the anime-only crowd, because the anime butchered it and completely cut it away. But this may be a moment where Diavel is remembering that Kirito, the name, in the beta, because Kirito was quite the infamous person back in the beta, getting those kill steals against floor bosses, getting those last attack bonuses, you know, getting all that max XP, etc., all that kind of stuff. So he does hold a grudge, and remembering all of this upon seeing Kirito, if this is a flashback from Diavel's side, this may be the moment where he decides to put his own plan into motion to do what he's going to do in the final boss fight that leads to what happens in that boss fight. That is as explicit as I can be, because I don't want to go into the context of those scenes. You'll see it in the movie, don't worry. But yeah, whatever this scene is tying into, whatever it ends up being, it is a huge addition, because what it does is, in a series that really shies away from adapting those inner monologues, it actually does take that inner monologue and put it in, turn it into a full-blown proper scene for us to enjoy, and that is absolutely huge. That is one of the biggest signs that the anime, SAO anime project in general, for once they are putting in the care. For once they do know what the fuck they are doing. For once they are adapting things wonderfully. Now, of course, those are some big words for someone who's just relying on a 15-frame storyboard, but the fact of the matter is, if you know how excited this one 15-frame storyboard gets the light novel readers excited for the exact same reason we're all banding behind, that should give you an idea how important this specific thing is. You know, so far the entire SAO anime project, whether it's the first season, second season, Alicization, etc., I am excluding Ordinal Scale because that was written as a movie, not an adaptation of anything. I'm keeping that elsewhere. Season 1, Season 2, Alicization, it has always been how much can we cut but still have a serviceable story. Whereas so far, based on what we have seen in the trailers as well as this specific storyboard, Progressive movie appears to be more of how can we add stuff to meaningfully enhance the entire experience of SAO, and that's a first. That's that's fucking brilliant. I can't say anything else. That really does get me excited. This 15-second storyboard keyframe is getting me excited for the movie as much as a proper trailer, if not more, and that speaks volumes. That's all I'm gonna say on that. But again, it has some other implications as well. The fact that we are getting this flashback either from Diavel's or Kirito's point of view, it's a clear showcase of, yes, we are getting a predominantly Asuna point of view, but we are not limited to that Asuna point of view. We will get those much needed Kirito screen times as well, or if it's Diavel as well, you know, more perspectives, that's better. Simple as that, you know, getting those character depth moments, getting those exposition going in visually compelling ways, that is incredibly important for an animated project, obviously, because it's an animated project. But yeah, that is pretty much it from this video. I know it's a very small thing regarding its context, it's just a storyboard keyframe, but the implications of it, the news that derives from it is absolutely huge, and that's why I figured it was a good idea to make a video about it. Hopefully it gets you just as excited as I am, especially those light novel readers. I know those are fucking excited. But yeah, for more Sword Online news, make sure to subscribe and hit that like icon, hit that bell icon, hit that comment icon, after commenting of course, so your comment actually gets posted. Becoming a channel member, becoming a patron using that super chat, it always helps me, and if you do all those stuff, you know, subscribing and stuff, it helps you actually get my videos, because YouTube really doesn't work properly at getting videos to people, so the more you do, the more chances you have. But of course, we are now looking forward to Aniplex Fest, Aniplex Online Fest now, due to COVID circumstances, which is where we'll potentially get one more progressive trailer and potentially a theme song reveal as well. That would be absolutely amazing. I'm not saying opening, because when it's a movie, it's a theme song, it's not called an opening song. But yeah, you know, subscribe, I'll make videos on it as well. I'll see you all next time. Huge thanks to my patrons and channel members, and until next time, stay cool.